All right. Welcome to the Long Term Podcast.
Oh man, happy to be here.
Sam Bayne, everyone.
Hey,
So, what was the moment you realized you wanted to pursue comedy seriously, and how did that first performance go?
the moment I knew I wanted to pursue comedy seriously, I mean that's a long question because it's a long answer. Like I I always knew I was kind of funny. You know, people kind of told me I was funny growing up. I was just a silly kid.
Class clown?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit. I was like really hyperactive as like a little kid, you know. And then by high school, I kind of became like sarcastic, and that kind of became like my outlet. And it was just like a way of like connecting with people, just comedy and stuff like that. And so when you like act like that a lot, I got drawn to comedy like by watching it on like TV and like movies and stuff like that. And yeah, I definitely like look up to like a bunch of comedians and tried to like emulate that a little bit. But I kind of look at comedy like a sport, you know, like I would watch it and then I would always like tell myself I want to do it. I want to try that someday, you know, when I kind of came across stand-up comedy. I was probably like 12, 13 years old when I kind of came across Kevin Hart and his comedy. He was putting out all his stuff back in the day when I was in like junior high school. And he was so popular, like kids in school were like quoting his jokes in like the hallway, you know, back when he was doing all that. So that was huge for me. He was a huge influence. Um, and so after I was watching Kevin Hart, all my friends like junior high, were they telling me to like watch Kevin Hart's comedy. I would watch his comedy, and then that kind of led to like other guys like Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle or like Eddie Murphy and guys like that. So, like I said, I would watch it like a sport, like thinking, oh, I'm going to try it one day. You know, I would watch basketball on TV and be like, oh, I want to like, you know, play basketball. And I played basketball in school. I watch football. I want to play football. So it was always a thing like, oh, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to try it. And I figured like you have to be like 18 to do it because I knew they did it in like bars and like nightclubs and stuff. So that was kind of my whole plan. Like I didn't really, I was like anyone who asked me what I wanted to be as a kid, I would just lie. I would just make it up. I just want to be a firefighter. I don't know. I have no interest in
Yeah.
fighting fires.
Yeah, because like comedian, like that's such a, why would you want to be a comedian? Right?
Exactly. And we're from Canada. Like we're in Edmonton. So I didn't know. I thought it was all in Hollywood. I thought it was all like there. You know, I didn't know that there was like a really prominent comedy scene here. So I told myself I would just try it when I got older and as soon as I could get into like bars and stuff like that. But it was actually one summer I read Kevin Hart's book. And it was a lot to do with his life, his upbringing, and it had a lot to do with stand up and how he started. And I wasn't much of a reader, so I'm like, you know what? If I finish this book, I would love to try stand up comedy. So that was my goal for the summer, to just read Kevin Hart's book, start to finish, and then when I was done, I would look into starting it. So I was 17 years old, and the summer before grade 12, and I finished his book, and then I Googled how to do stand up. I literally like looked up how to start stand-up comedy, and the first thing it said was like write 5 minutes of material that you think is funny. And it said how to write 5 minutes. You basically try and fill out a page of just ideas and thoughts and premises that interest you. So I did that, and then it said step 2, look at your, you know, local comedy club or shows going on. So that's what I did. I was just like I looked into that, and the first thing that came up was the comic strip at West Edmonton Mall. And I'm like, oh, I used to pass by that all the time. You know, you're walking down Bourbon Street and you would see the comic strip. So I'm like, oh, okay, I know exactly where that is. And I was like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I phoned them. I phoned the comic strip and I asked, like, I got on the phone and I'm like, hi, I'm Sam. I was wondering how you go about doing comedy. And there's a lady at the front desk and she's like, oh, okay, yeah, just show up on Tuesday nights. I think they have like their pro-am. They call it Triple Threat Tuesdays. Just come by. And she said, ask to meet a guy named Nick McQuick. So I'm like, I don't know who Nick McQuick is. So I write that name down to get all that information. I go there, 17 years old, and I go to the back of the comedy club. And well, at first I'm thinking like, how old do you have to be to get in here? And the lady on the phone, she's like, well, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 17. And she's like, that's fine. That's fine. We don't care how old you are. Like, just don't drink alcohol and you're good. So I was like, oh, wow. So then I finally went to the club and I met this guy named Nick McQuick. And I said, I'm here to do comedy. He's like, great. Put your name in this hat or like a bowl. And they're going to just draw names. basically. So there was booked comedians, but then like they were going to draw some names, and if your name gets drawn, you get to go on. And I'm like, oh wow, okay. So I put my name in, and my name doesn't get drawn first night. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So I get my bag, I'm start heading out, and he's like, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I didn't get on. He's like, you're gonna stick around, aren't you? Like that's part of being a comedian. You watch, and I'm like, I can watch for free. Like I didn't know how any of this worked, so I sat in the back watching the comedy show with a bunch of other comedians, and they're all older than me. They were in like their like late 20s, 30s, 40s, like, and I'm the youngest guy, right? I don't even have a mustache, right? So I'm just sitting there, young as hell, and it dawned on me, this is the first time I've seen live stand-up. I've watched it on YouTube, I've seen it on TV. None of these people are famous.
It's a different feeling. Hey?
Absolutely.
Turn this off.
Oh, good. And I'm like, oh, this is the first time I've seen live comedy, and I was hooked. So then he says, come back next week. If you do it every Tuesday, come back next week, come for the draw. If you don't get on, I'll put you on at the end. So I come back the next week, same material, ready to go. I memorized it, like the whole thing, start to finish. Just a whole page of just horrific jokes. And I get there and I put my name in, and he draws my name. And I'm like, oh shit. So I remember being so excited, but as soon as I got up there, it was like an out-of-body experience. That's what I remember the most. I remember just being an out-of-body experience, and I could literally see myself on stage telling these jokes. And there was like 20 people in the audience, and it was so dark, I couldn't really see them. And I heard a couple of laughs, and I was hooked. I was in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did pretty good my first night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terror, hey? What was it like? The feelings associated with standing up there.
Yeah.
You're 17.
Yeah.
You're looking around.
Yeah.
That's just all the experience you've ever had was just online.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Or in class.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So what was that like in the system?
It was different because
you said out of body.
Yeah, out of body was different, I think, because I didn't know anybody. You know, you can make your friends laugh and all that kind of stuff, but you know them. You know, I can do a funny class presentation or whatever it was. I can make my family at the dinner table laugh, but you know them. So doing it to strangers is a whole different ball game. It actually requires you to like structure it better so that they understand where you're coming from. And that's a lot to process at 17. And you don't have a grasp. You don't really understand that yet. So I'm just like talking about, I don't even know, man. I think I talked about midgets. I don't know. Are you allowed to say that word on here? I did a whole rant about midgets.
Is that like a slur?
I think so. The M word.
The M word.
They don't like it.
Really? Well,
yeah.
Short people.
People, little people. Yeah, I call them gremlins. They don't like that either. But I did a whole rant on them. And I also talked about just like what kids know, like boogers and farting and just like really, really dumb stuff.
Like for some reason, it's been ever since my brother was like 4, he's loved fart jokes, poop jokes. Yeah. Which I don't really get, because when I was that age, I didn't really find that funny. But anytime you just put fart in a sentence, they eat that shit up. Yeah, absolutely. One of my first bits was just like, you ever be on a date and you're just holding a fart the whole time, or you have a booger in your nose and you don't realize it's there till it's too late. Just horrible, horrible jokes. And then I ended on midgets. And I mean, the audience liked probably the confidence. That's all I had going for me. And I get off stage, and the manager of the club says, hey, how long have you been doing comedy? And I said, it's my first time. And he says, get out of here. I'm like, no, it is. And he's like, how old are you? And I said, I'm 17. He says, get out of here. I'm like, no, I'm serious. He says, okay, come back this weekend. And he gave me a guest spot, which is basically in comedy clubs, you have like an opener. You have a host, and then an opener middle who does like 20 minutes. And then you have the headliner. And then in between, at the beginning of the show, there's like a guest spot who comes in and does like 5 minutes. And that's usually like a comedian working on their stuff. And the weekend shows are packed, right? Tuesday, like weekday shows, they're always trying to get people in the doors. And it's like usually like amateur shows and like whatever. But the weekend is packed. It's like, you know, out of town comedians come and do it. So he had me on that show. And I didn't do as good my second time. Packed house, didn't do as good. I didn't bomb, like I didn't eat shit, but it was definitely worse than the first one. And I also thought you had to come up with like new jokes every time. So I was like,
And what else? The first time I remember the 5 minutes flew by, and then the second time I was like struggling. Like, what else? And I'm trying to remember what I wrote. Midgets are weird, huh? Like it was just like so bad. But yeah, that's kind of how I started. And then the more you do comedy in the comedy scene, comedians just like tell you about shows. Hey, we got a show over here.
What do you even do when you're standing there and 10 minutes goes by?
Yeah.
And no one's laughing. Yeah. And it's just like
it happened last night.
Yeah. Like do you just keep going, or do you go by what you planned on, and you just switch up? Like is there a lot of improv? Is there improv when it comes to kind of the acts on there? Well,
now there is. I've been doing comedy 5 years now, coming on 6 in July. And that just kind of took practice. It took you have to kind of build a muscle, I think. When I started, if I forgot a joke or people weren't laughing, you kind of like start to panic, and you can get really hot in like the back of your neck. You can feel it in your ear, and then you just can't think straight, and you get like dry mouth. That sucks, where you just feel like you just ate a whole mouthful of cotton. You just that one's not fun. But yeah, I mean, as time goes on, you learn how to push through it. And, I write jokes that are kind of edgy too sometimes. And then I like the pullback. I like when people don't like it right away, and if a bit comes too easy, then it's not that fun. So I like working it out. I like practicing. I like trying, but lots of just, like I said, I've been doing it a decent amount of time where I can push through any audience. And now I like trying to win them over. And I think the more experienced comics enjoy pushing the limits, pushing the boundaries. I like hooking them and then losing them and bringing them back. And I learned early, this first time I bombed so bad, the first time I had the first really bad show I had was a bar show. And I went up with all new material. And I'm probably 18 in this story, but I went up with all new material, and I didn't know that that's not how new people do it. You want to open with something that works and close with something that works. And then in the middle, you try one new thing, a new bit, a new premise, an idea, a new joke. And they call that a comedy sandwich. Well, that's what he told me. I don't know. Maybe he was just hungry. I don't know. This guy told me called a comedy sandwich, folks. And then, that's the guarantee. So then you can hook them. You get it. Okay, this guy's funny. Then the middle, well, that was weird. Or they like it. And then you close on something that's tried and true, and it's funny. But when you don't know, you don't know. So I went up with just all new stuff, and that didn't go so well. And now I like going up with all new stuff and figuring it out. But I'll still close on something that I know works. So I'm still kind of doing a comedy sandwich, or maybe like a comedy open sandwich now. It's more like a comedy hot dog. I don't know what you call them now. Maybe a comedy bagel. What are those? Comedy cream cheese bagel? Open croissant?
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating how when you first started, right, it was just like everything was unknown, very dark.
Yeah.
But now you've actually got structure in it. And from all the failures that you've gone, you just tweak a little bit, and then then you tweak a little bit of there.
Yep.
Add that joke. Oh, that joke didn't work.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned earlier that it's easier for your friends to laugh, because it's personal. You know them, right? You know what works, what doesn't, and because through hanging out with them with all these different iterations, you know what to say for that particular person.
Yep.
And within even a family member, but you can apply that same joke to another person, it just doesn't hit.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you get up on stage and it's unknown, all you have is the type of demographic that you see. Through the company that I worked for, the sign shop, they used to invite us to the comic strip, just free tickets, some sort of partnership. And just the comedians that went up there, they always made it all the jokes about kind of the corporate side of things and just talking about rich people, right?
Yep.
And if you did the same jokes to the other side of Edmonton, it probably wouldn't hit, right? Jokes like that in the comic strip, it's just about the corporate side of things, talking about the lawn. But if you talked about, the hood or something, it probably wouldn't hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just like kind of optimizing who are you talking to? And it must be tough, right? How many shows you doing every week?
Every week? Man, I try and hit up at least 4.
Damn,
yeah.
dude.
On a good week, it's like 5. And then on a bad week, it's like 1.
And then you've been doing this, what, 5, 6 years?
5, 6 years, yeah, roughly.
Dude, how do you maintain the vigor? Like, for podcasting, I love it. Like, I love podcasting. I love working out. I like hanging out with friends. But then there comes a point in your passion where it's like, fuck, man. Like, do I really have to do this? Like, it's so much, right?
Yep.
5, 6 shows, dude. You must have like a heart of, I don't know what's in there, man. Like, what's the secret sauce?
There's a weird thing, like a weird drive you got to have to be a comedian. Like, I think anyone, you do it once, that doesn't really make you a comedian. It's all about like what makes you come back. What makes the person come back and do that other show? What made me come back? I got a rush doing it the first time. And it's called the comedy bug. You get bit by this bug and it makes you want to keep coming back. But like, if I was a guy who tried it, did well, never thought of coming back, like I didn't want to be a hobbyist. It was like something clicked. It's like, oh, this is what I want to do, and I still get a rush. Like we still get a rush on stage. Comedians, when the crowd is hot, like there's nothing better than killing in a room with, I don't know, 200, 300, 400 people. There's nothing better. And now I'm at a point where like the bigger the room, the better. I did a theater last month and it was just like, oh yeah, this is sweet. It's a better feeling. You get off stage, you get like, stage high. You get a real rush. And sometimes like if you do so good, it's hard to come down. Like it's hard to like sleep sometimes. Some comedians have like sleeping issues. I'm really good with sleeping. I'm pretty good.
Well, usually the comedy shows are like late at night, hey? So like it fucks up your circadian rhythm, especially if you only got a full-time job as well. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't do any drugs or anything. So like that is my rush. That is my high. And if I get it from being creative, I mean, there's nothing better. That's like the best thing to be addicted to is like hard work and creativity.
Yeah, dude, that's the way to do it. With the Alberta and Canada having diverse audiences, how do you adapt to your material when performing in different cities or provinces?
Oh yeah, like you said, it's not even all over Canada. It's Edmonton. It's like a joke that works on the at the comic strip doesn't necessarily work on the north side. You know what I'm saying? You just kind of have to adapt, read the room. And that comes with time, or you naturally have it or you naturally don't. I mean, I definitely look at my set list and realize, okay, I'm going to do this joke here. I'm going to do this joke. Oh, I'm going to take this one out. This one's not as good. I try not to divide the audience. So I don't do political stuff for many reasons. One being I don't know enough and I try and educate myself for me, but I'm not at a point where I need to like preach to the audience, and I'm younger than most people in the audience, or I'm the same age when everyone's like young and in their 20s. But it's like I come in knowing my place. You have to know who you are, your character, and what you're all about. I'm not a political comedian. And I do a little bit of racial humor, but I try not to split the room. I play to everybody. You know what I'm saying? And what I find that works best for me, and a lot of the most successful comedians, is they talk about themselves. And that's my biggest thing is I try and like draw from a personal place. A lot of my material is about, it was from when I started, it was dating, relationships, getting married, hanging out with your friends. It was, now it's like I got the material about like just having a dog, traveling, things that people can relate to, having a shitty car, things like that, where it's like, I don't know. I like drawing it from me and personal experiences. That's how I come up with material, is like, just like I lived it, and people can appreciate me when I get off stage because it's like, I don't know, it's they learn about me. They learn who I am. People can get off stage and go, oh yeah, you're this guy, you're that guy. I did a show in Canmore and it was a great show. It was a hot crowd. I talked about my wife, my dog, all kinds of stuff just from my act, right? And then the next day we were on a hike, me and my wife and my dog, and a lady says, "You're the guy from the show." I'm like, "What?" And she was like, yeah, and that's your wife, and that's your dog. And she was like
putting the pieces together.
And I'm like, yeah, that's what I am. That's what I do. My favorite comedians talk about themselves. You know about them. They don't get up there and they're not trying to be a character and they're not trying to divide the audience. I want people of all races, ethnicities, genders to like my stuff, you know? And some of it, if you don't, that's okay. If you don't like everything I'm talking about, if it offends you, then it's like, okay. But I'm tailoring it so that it doesn't offend you.
Like authentic to you, right? And if people don't like what you have to say, then it's just catering towards a certain type of audience that actually like you for who you are.
Yeah.
And I always think about like the people that I look up to, like some comedians or some podcasters, some people who've written books, like ultra successful people.
Yeah.
Even I see a bunch of Kevin Hart's motivational stuff too. And I'm sure he talked about it a lot in the book.
Yep.
Right. And it's you follow a route and it's never going to be easy, right? But if you can tailor it towards the truth to yourself, like having a fragment of little pieces, like, oh, whether it be about your wife or a dog, right? Mm-hmm. And the more you listen to someone, the more you can start to add these pieces together and like, it makes sense. Like this is the person that says who he is, right? Meanwhile, you can usually detect bullshit. I mean, we're pretty good at that. You listen to someone enough times, you can go, that guy's a fucking liar.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't add up. You said this one thing, but if you make it personable to you, you know it happened, right?
Yeah.
You can back it up. You got evidence. And when you build up a following, people can understand you. And it's such a good feeling to be heard, right? To be understood. And I think as a comedian, right, you probably like having people come up to you and go, wow, that's a wife and the dog must be like exhilarating.
Yeah.
Right?
There's nothing better than people like telling your jokes back to you. Like, oh, you should probably get that car fixed. Or like I hear like quotes from my act. I'm like, oh, thanks. That means that's the biggest compliment because that means they were listening.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Do you ever sometimes forget what you said and they remind you? Like, because so many jokes, right? Like, I said that. That's pretty
tons.
Fucking funny.
Tons. Yeah. Someone said to me like, oh, I love that one joke you did about rinsing your dick in the sink. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I told that joke. I can't believe I said that. That's that's strange.
What is this? Who's that guy?
Yeah.
What's a joke or set you were really proud of, but it didn't land the way you expected? And what did you learn from that experience?
A joke or set I'm really proud of. That's so hard to pick my favorite show of all time just because I do so many. A lot of highs and lows. The one that did the best or the most interesting. You know what I really love? I just love playing different venues. Like I get such a kick out of even going out of town and just playing different places. I did the Comedy Store in LA, and that was really fun. You know, it was the Belly Room, and it was like such a short set. You know, I was so crunched for time, but I was like, oh man, like I can make like people in America laugh. That was huge. You know, I don't know. It was just so different because my stuff is so relatable that I can make people not from my city laugh. Like sometimes you'll see a comedian where the jokes are just so tailored to Edmonton or tailored to wherever, and then they try and do the road or they try and go somewhere else and it just doesn't work, you know? And if I notice, oh, this is starting to sound a little too Edmonton-y, I like try and rewrite it or fix it up or change the city name and location and switch a whole bunch of things up. But yeah, I don't know, just doing well out of town, especially out of the country. Like I can't wait to play other places, man. I like, I'm going to New York this fall, and I hope that I hope I learn a lot there. Just like different kinds of shows, man. Like all just black rooms and shows where predominantly Asian people, like Indian shows, man. Like I love doing stuff where people can relate, and I wasn't even thinking about them while I wrote it or while it happened. You know what I'm saying? It's just me. That's cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was at the buffet yesterday with some friends, and I realized I don't really eat that much with white people. Most of my friends are white, but we don't, like, the way I hang out with them, it's not throughout dinner. It's usually working out or studying.
Yeah. So
I asked my friend, how do white people eat their corn?
Yeah.
And so he goes on to explain that, just like with their hands, and I'm like, I do that too.
Yeah.
and it got me thinking, man. There's so many like I wonder about these things from like different races.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
like, wait, they're just the same for the most part.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like we think that
Yep.
the other races are like this intricate kind of way of going about things. Like they feel sadness a certain way, or like they view life at a certain route. You know, unless you're like an extremist, you know,
Yeah.
like, you're not,
Yeah,
chances are you're the same.
Yeah, I don't think my comedy hits the same in North Korea. They just do it a little differently out there. But for the most part, I think I could play most places.
I'm sure you could sharpen enough. One day you'll make the North Koreans laugh.
Hopefully, I mean, maybe they could relate to you know, marriage material or relationship stuff. But
everything's assigned there, hey?
Yeah.
Like you get your own job, like you assigned wife, assigned beliefs.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Are they allowed to laugh there?
I don't think so.
No,
dude. I was watching this. I watched this guy on the news. Yeah, and he had taken a poster off, like when he was there on vacation or something, and the North Koreans proceeded to kind of torture him, and then he came back eventually after years of just advocacy to bring him back. North Koreans were like, fine, we'll give him to you, and now he has like brain damage and shit like that. Where I'm like, why did you think it was a good idea to visit North Korea in the first place?
Yeah, you know? Man. If I'm going on a trip, that's not the first place I'm going.
Did you ever do a show there?
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, are they allowed to laugh? What are we allowed to talk about? I'm sure they would censor and cut all the stuff I'm allowed to talk about. But yeah. I mean, maybe no, because like they're not even famous for anything. Like you can't go to North Korea and be like, oh, their food is great, or their music. Like it's all I do South Korea. Those people have, hey, I don't want to piss off a bunch of North Koreans watching this.
Imagine there's just a hit out on us.
Yeah, right.
Like the I don't know how the interview. The interview. Yeah. You watched that?
I watched it a month ago because it was on Netflix.
Yeah,
how'd they get away with it?
Yeah, how did they?
I think they were almost going to cause like a World War III. Like they were so mad, but then like I think Obama was president. He's like, we're
chill.
Yeah,
they probably talked it out with Kim Jong-un. We're just playing. We're just playing.
Yeah, that movie's crazy.
I'm sure they probably made a movie of their own to rebuttal that. Yeah, maybe got some leaks.
Yeah, they're killing Obama or something in it. It's probably hilarious.
So I know. I know you're the host of Confused as Usual.
Yes, that's my podcast.
What inspired the concept and tone of the podcast?
What inspired the concept? All right, bit of backstory. I was podcasting with my friends in high school. I don't even know how that started. Just a group of us. We were just silly, and we decided, hey, I think our conversations are so interesting, everybody should hear them. And
dude, I always said that in high school, and then looking back, like, it's a good thing it wasn't.
It's not a good idea. I don't recommend anyone does a podcast unless you're extremely interesting like us.
Of course,
it's the most interesting. So we started a podcast and we messed around for a little bit, and then being like there's like 3 people trying to operate it. It kind of fell apart, but it was kind of popular. Like, kids thought it was funny or whatever. And they're like, hey, listen to that shit you were talking about. One teacher said he thought it was funny. Probably shouldn't listen to the whole thing, but yeah. So then we kind of did that, and then it faded, and I liked it. I got the podcast equipment, and I kept it kind of. It was mine.
Oh, it started off with 4 of you guys.
Yeah, it was just 4 of us. Yeah, and then I kept all the equipment, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
It's tough, right? Having 4 people organize a certain day because people have lives or something. Yeah,
I mean, I did all the editing. I remember like I kind of hosted it, but I don't know. It was whatever. I don't really think about it too much. I don't know. It really wasn't anything, but it put the idea in my head where I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. So I got crazy. I'm thinking, oh, I'll just go to Nate and go to like the radio and television program. And, because that's great. I could just be on the radio. That might be a career path for me. It's not a career path for me. I didn't like it very much. Not even that. I went during the pandemic, middle of the pandemic. So it was January of 2021. So I was doing everything online, and I never met my classmates, and it was just Zoom calls. And then it was just like a lot of like work that I didn't want to do at the time. Like it was just like, I don't know. It was a weird course. And then part of the way through, I wanted to switch to the television side, and it was still semester 1. And they're like, you can't switch anymore. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, if you want to switch, you got to go back to the beginning. I'm like, well, that's crazy. I felt robbed. In the beginning, they're like, yeah, you can flip. You figure out which one you want to do, radio or television, because we're all in like one program at the start. But by the end of the semester, like, you can't switch now. And I'm like, oh man, I kind of wanted to do TV. So I was like, dang. And it was funny because radio was a dying media anyways at the time. And I listened to podcasts constantly, still do. But then I was like such a fan of podcasts, I thought radio was the answer. And then my teacher at Nate, I don't know, maybe it was like day 1 or 2, he was kind of telling us like his life story, how he kind of got into it. He's like, yeah, I went to Nate. I studied this program you're in now. And he's like, and then I worked at this radio station and it closed, and I worked at this one and I got laid off, and I worked at this one and
it sounds like a horror story.
He got bounced around for like 30 years. And he's like, yeah, you don't make very much money, but when they offered this job position came up at Nate to teach, I took it. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to have a career where I'm like getting laid off and moving around, not making enough money to come back and be a teacher at this program. That's what it leads to. I'm out. So there's a lot of reasons that made me drop out, but I did. And again, I had the podcast stuff just sitting there. So I'm like, I kind of want to start a podcast. And I didn't want to rely on other people. I didn't want to rely. I was like, I need guests every now and then, but the idea was to kind of do it by myself. And I started in my parents' basement. Parents' basement. I think I'm 17 there too, or 18. Yeah, and I just started like talking to myself, and there's a few ones that I didn't release because they were horrible. And the first one I released isn't that good either, but they've gotten better. So I've been doing that one for a long time. And I think just what inspired me to do it was I listen to a lot of podcasts. There's a show called The Basement Yard. I don't know if you heard of it. There's a YouTuber named Joe Santagato. He kind of had a show where it was just kind of a riff show, it wasn't interviews. It was just riffing, and they were kind of doing comedy bits. And I mean, I just listened to it so much in high school, like just walking in the hallways in class, driving home in grade 12. I'd stay up late and listen to it and watch it. And it was just, The Basement Yard in 2018, 19, 20, and 21 was like mind blowing to me. I became a huge fan of that. And then there is a show, Bill Burr, the comedian, has a podcast called The Monday Morning Podcast. And that blew my mind because he just did it by himself.
Whatever pops up on his head.
Whatever pops up. And then I learned that he kind of wrote material kind of that way. And I'm like, wow, I can't imagine doing it by myself, but I want to try it. And then I kind of merged the two ideas where it's like, I'm alone some weeks, and then some weeks I have guests, but I don't have a co-host. I just have my friends pop in. And it was my friends from high school, and it was my friends from different jobs I had. And then it became comedians, and like it just, and I still have friends on that aren't comedians. And I don't know, it's just the funniest people in my life I have on that show. And I try and get people who are like funnier than me, because that makes me want to work harder. And I don't know, it's just that's another pocket you can get into. That's another I guess zone you can lock into when you're podcasting. On stage killing is fun, but when two people are like locked in and you're just laughing your ass off and you're trying to one up each other, I mean, that's another zone I love getting locked into. And I just kept going with it.
Yeah, dude, with podcasting, man, I'm the same way where I just.
But you have a cool setup though. Like you got the stuff on the walls.
I got my siblings drawing, some cousins.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I got to keep the vibe.
I'm not this high tech. I'm not this high tech at all. You got the whole setup. You got water for the guests.
Yeah. You know how it is.
Comfy furniture. What is this? IKEA?
Yes, IKEA, man.
Is it really?
IKEA. Yeah.
This is sick.
Assembled it myself with my buddy Jeff.
This is comfy.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, with podcasting, man, you sit down with a person, right?
Yeah.
And you just time flies by so fast, and it's so enjoyable just being able to actually create something. Because when I see shit, I'm always in the back of my head, I'm always like, oh, I could do the same thing.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'd be talking to some people, and that's not anywhere in their ambition, right? They just want to follow the route that they saw it out, and when they consume content, they don't really envision themselves in it. And I talk to some people, and they're the same way. And usually those types of people are the ones to take initiative. Right. To, I'm gonna start my own podcast, see how that goes. And usually the first kind of iterations are like, shit. It's like, what is this? But eventually you do it for years on end. You don't really notice it, but you get better.
My first podcast I ever did, I recorded on my phone. Me and my buddy sat in his parents' basement, and we just talked into a phone for hours. No, maybe not hours, probably an hour, and it was horrible. It was bad.
Do you listen to your own stuff when you're going to work? Or
I used to, but now I don't know. I can't always stand it. I'll edit it, so I listen to everything once, and then I just kind of put it out there. So now people say, "Hey, I like that podcast you put out, the interview or the conversation you had about this, and that was such a funny bit." I'm like, I don't remember it, and I don't know which episode that is, and I try not to listen back to it. But sometimes I'll get bits out of it and like actual jokes and stuff too. So I get that editing, but I don't listen to the episodes all the way through anymore.
My routine is
still a narcissist. In other ways,
bro. My routine is after I'm done editing, I'll head to the gym, and then I'll listen to the entire thing from start to finish.
Do you ever get tired of your own voice?
No, I cringe sometimes though, and I'm like, why did I say that?
Sure,
or I'm like, it's like weird, and I'll cringe sometimes. I get that feeling of like, why do I have a platform? Like, why am I doing this?
Why do I talk during interviews?
No, exactly. And then my consciousness, do I have free will? And I get really deep, and I'm like, oh, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. But then I try to focus on little things in it and just try to sharpen it as best I can. I'm like, oh, that thing I said about the guest, I should have changed that. And I want to go back in the past and change what I said, but at this moment, this is what popped up in my head. With the resources that I've got. And like I'm sure you probably get this with comedy as well, where you go back and I should have used that word, or I should have put that pause in. Right. But it's just, you can't go back and pass. Nope. Good. But
and editing it, it's just like, I think, oh man, I think of jokes that I should have said even after the fact. And it's like, you know what though? It was funny enough at the time and it works. And my goal is to always make the other person look better, so it's just like, okay, they came across as hilarious, and I'm just there, and I'm living, and if I'm having fun, that's all that matters. I try not to get too deep into it.
Yeah, dude, that's at the end of the day, that's what matters. Hey? Yeah, that's truly what matters.
You trying to be the next Joe Rogan?
Dude, I'm trying, man. He's crazy, man, with the number of listens, bro. Yeah, he's like every single podcast with him is like at least 2 million listens, or probably 10 million on like sometimes. Spotify. Something like that.
Some of the YouTube clips go pretty viral too.
Yeah, dude, so many. And I find our generation, attention spans are fucked. You know, like, so lots of people that I talk to, like, they don't even really go on YouTube and watch the long form. Like, they just see a 60-second clip, and even then, that's too long. Like, unless it's Mr. Beast with all these different colors and Subway Surfer and below the half, and like all these pictures. A lot of people won't watch it. Like, I see that in myself. Like, I'm talking about it like I'm not part of the problem. I'm part of the problem too.
I'm part of the problem.
Like, I'm sharing and I'm sending reels to my buddies, and I'm like, the function on Instagram where you can see what your buddies are liking. Dude, I was just on that before we started filming, and I'm scrolling, and I'm like, what? I didn't know that person was racist.
Oh yeah. It's like, I didn't know my friend was into this.
Like, what the fuck? This is some video.
I like things less now because I don't want people to like think anything of me. And I'm not liking weird stuff, but it's like, I know people see what I like now. Like, I'm more conscious of it, so you can't just be double tapping everything.
This really quiet girl was like liking stuff about BDSM, and I'm like, what?
Well, that makes sense.
What the? It's usually the quiet ones, right? And I'm like, wow, this guy is freaky. What the fuck? Like, what is this? Like, in person, they're all quiet, all shy. But the reels that they're liking, it's a different beast. And I'm like, the way I gauge that too is now anytime when I come up to that person, I know which jokes to use. I know what passes and what doesn't. So I use that. I'm smart about it. Like, sure, maybe I'm brain rotting a bit. spend an hour there, but I'm learning stuff about people that I talk to.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. You're getting insight on all your friends and family. You know what I like? I'm liking a lot of reels about like car accidents. Don't ask me why, but I'm watching some
car accidents.
Yeah, my algorithm's fucked. I've been watching brutal car accidents where like someone died from that, like a semi will flip over and just weird shit like that. Yeah, like people are dying, and I'm like, I'm double tapping it. So
the weirdest thing in high school, my buddy and I, we used to go on Live Leak.
Yeah,
we just, we called it like strengthening our minds, where like we'd see shit that's like truly horrifying. Like the most disgusting thing in the world would be recorded. Yeah. And we'd try to look really hard. We'd try to look at it and never look away. And so we'd come out of it thinking we're better. Yeah. It just fucking gave me nightmares. Dude. I just couldn't fucking sleep for days on end. But I'd tell them, we'd both look at each other and be like, we've seen worse. Yeah. That'd always be kind of what we'd talk about, or what we'd say after the video ends. Like, we've seen worse. Yeah. Some degenerate shit. You know, you'd be in high school and I'm like, why did we do that?
Yeah, you're trying to like build like a weird high tolerance, but like I don't know what it does to you. I watched Instagram reels on the toilet, and like I said, like it's car accidents. So like 7 people died while I'm on the toilet today. I watched those, and I also like watching police chases.
Police chases.
I love watching police chases. I will watch them all day. I get carried away. Like it's where it could be a car chase, on like a highway or whatever. But I love it and this is when the reel can be like, they can be 5 minutes long. I'll watch that too.
The entire thing.
When they get out of the car, I love it. So they're watching from the helicopter and they get out of the car, and it's like 3 people get out of the back, and I'm just like, I'm watching it. And usually the helicopter can only follow like one guy if they all split, but if they all run together, that's always fun. And I love it. I love watching. And then it's a foot chase. I love watching foot chases. And then you watch the guy jump from like yard to yard. I saw a guy run into someone else's yard, freak the person out, scared their dog, and then they try and always like steal a vehicle. So it turns into like GTA, or like they ran into like a Walmart, and you're just like, this is the best thing ever.
GTA in real life.
Yeah, it's the best. I'll send you some after.
No, please do, man. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's the best.
Maybe I might have to change my algorithm now.
It's the best thing ever. That and car accidents.
What's been the most surprising or unexpectedly deep moments you've had with a guest on the show?
Surprising. You know what? I really like with my show that I really get to know people's stories. It's not an interview show, but if that's the way the guest is leaning, where we tell stories about their childhood or why they got into comedy, I really love hearing that. And a lot of my favorite shows I listen to are people's stories. It's inspiring and it's motivating to me, hearing what people have gone through and what shaped them, their experiences that shaped them. And recently I did an episode by myself where I told my story, and I realized for this many years I haven't put out an episode where I just I was honest with who I am. Like I'm not like lying, but I never really said like, oh, this is who I am, this is how I was raised, and I never really like put it all out there. I was always like, either if it's a conversation with someone else, we don't really go to me, or I'll tell like a couple funny stories from my childhood, but I'm not talking about me, or like I'm not getting deep with myself. So that's big. That's been big. Just opening up and talking about myself and getting comfortable with myself and with my voice. It's so funny. I don't always love listening to my voice every episode, but I like how my comedy voice and I'm more conscious of who I am. My voice is evolving. My voice is growing. How you get older, you just form opinions about stuff, and you just grow. When I started, I said I was in my parents' basement talking to myself, and throughout that I've had many jobs. I've moved out. I had roommates. I lived by myself, dated some people, got married, got a house, and that all happened on my show. And I never really told my story. So telling my story was big on the show. And I never opened up like that. you know?
With music, there's certain phases in my life where I'm listening to that song continuously. And then if I listen to it again to this day, I'll be projected to that moment, whether it be like euphoria or whether it be like the deepest, darkest moments in my life.
Yep.
When you see some comedy clips of yourself, can you kind of envision what you're going through in those moments? You know what I mean? Like
as it's happening?
Like, yeah, when you're looking at clips of yourself, right? There's you still get up on that stage when you don't want to, right? When you're heartbroken or you're feeling fatigued, you're feeling happy, and all those different iterations, right? But then there's like certain moments, certain clips that get clipped, and you're looking at yourself, right? And like even within this podcast, I've been doing it for 1.5 years now, and there's points where I don't want to do the podcast, and I can kind of envision myself. I could kind of feel what I was going through at that moment. You know what I mean? You're looking at that and I'm like, like the other person has no idea what I'm going through. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They have no idea because I'm not telling them, or I'm just not just showing in my body language. But it's crazy. You could get catapulted into that by just looking at that, and you go, maybe hey, it wasn't that bad, or I got over it, or it's just like, oh, that day got solved, or the problem eventually had a solution. Right?
Yep.
Do you ever have moments like that?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a certain podcast I'll listen back to, and I know I'm not having like that much fun. But it wouldn't be the whole episode. There'd be like highs and lows, or like different energy, different stages in my life. I know, like if it's hilarious, but I might not be like the most happy. I might not be actually happy. And then with stand up, I mean, I do comedy. Not in a bad mood, but like I'm not thrilled every time, but I try and look back. Well, when I do look back, I try and have fun. And it's usually the first joke. Once you get the mic out the mic stand, or you say that first line, I mean, you know what's funny about comedy? You can block out a lot of that stuff. And maybe that's why I find it so euphoric.
It's like freeing for you.
Dude, you can get up there. You can have like, I had like body pain. I had like a sore shoulder, and I hurt like my ankle. And those were really bad injuries for me. And I did like physio and all that stuff to like work on it and fix it. But when I did comedy, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the pain. Like even if I have like a toothache or a headache, it disappears up there. There's a weird comedy health that you can have on stage. Like I'm doing my material, or the audience is liking it, or even not liking it. Like, I don't know. A bad set is worse than like physical pain, I don't know. I'm just so locked in. You're so locked into doing one job that like nothing else really hurts,
Is that flow state? Right? When you get into in the moment,
zone,
everything dissipates, like all your problems, all the dilemmas, all the ruminations just go by the wayside because you're so into your craft. You're so into the moment. And I think
if I have a bad day and I do comedy, like getting there sucks. Getting to the show, the venue, sometimes talking to the people, that's not always fun, but being up there makes it worth it. Like it's so weird. Like, I'm able to like compartmentalize my emotions when I'm doing comedy.
Yeah. Like for a lot of people, we are never present, right? That's why I think we're constantly trying to run away from ourselves through, all this, like watching shows, and even at times like that where your mind's always thinking about like the past or like the future, right? Like rarely do people say, man, like I'm constantly in the moment. I need to think about the past or the future. And then there's just like certain activities that put you in the moment.
Sports.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't say comedy's an escape for me, but I am so present doing it. It almost seems like it is. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm escaping something else, but I'm present in another thing. So I don't know. Maybe there's a word for it, but I love being present. I try being present in my personal life and home life and work and all that stuff too. But when I'm doing stand up, I'm very present.
Well, being like escaping is just neglecting your problems.
Sure.
And I think being in the moment, that's recognizing the problems and being okay with it and still kind of following your passions.
Yep.
You know, that's what it's all about.
Yep.
And I think we all know what's good and right for us, what's fulfilling.
Yeah.
Right. We kind of feel that it's different from just like sheer pleasure, because you could like drink your life away, just play video games 24/7. And if you're not building anything, it feels hollow, feels empty.
Yep.
Right. But with comedy, you're actually sharpening up this blade. You know, you're trying to build block by block something that you can look back on, or not even something you can look back on, something that you're continuously doing every day that becomes part of who you are.
Yeah.
You know, there's something that makes you. And yeah, it's like it's a weird line between like being in the moment and escapism, because like out of body experience, right? It all really comes down to like, what is this doing for you?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think I think when I'm doing comedy, I'm very present, but there's something about it like, oh, I lost my train of thought. I had it, bro. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought.
Well, we'll come back to it once you get it back. How has podcasting helped share your voice or perspective differently than stand up?
One more time?
Like, how has podcasting helped shape your voice or perspective differently than stand up?
I would say when I'm podcasting with a guest and we get into like a riff, we can come up with jokes really well. So it helps like my writing and just improvising skills. That helps shape my voice. And then when I'm doing it by myself, sometimes I'll write out a bit and I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't good on stage, but maybe this is good for the podcast. Or I'll try it on the podcast and then do it on stage. So I'm writing a lot constantly, you know, for the podcast and then for stand up. And then if something isn't working so much in my act, I kind of just throw it on the show and then breathe life into it with a friend and we just riff and kick up an idea. And I don't know, it's just it's a fun, I think they're connected. It is an organism that feeds off each other. So yeah, I mean, I'm constantly doing it. But I think, yeah, when I'm talking about myself and talking about my week, I love when I get to talk about my week on the show. That goes into my act. Or if I come back from a trip or a vacation or something like that and I'll tell a story, okay, maybe that's a bit. That's something. Because I always, the rawest version of my stand-up act is on the show. Unedited, you know, just going off. So if you think my stand-up is crazy, you should hear the podcast. But that's a lot where the ideas are born and stuff like that. It's I'm learning how to be me, learning how to be comfortable being me. And that's, like I said, with a guest or not, you know. I learn how I play off of other people and their energy. Like if someone comes in at a 10, do I match them? Do I go lower? Do I go, you know, someone's lower. I've done podcasts where I've had to like bring the energy up. And that was hard. And it's like, I don't love being that. But I definitely like react to things. That's kind of my thing. Just reactive to stuff. And I like always having something to say. And then in life, in social situations, choosing to say it or not is my choice. But like, just like my brain's always moving. I'm always thinking. I'm always writing, you know, always. Except when I go blank, sometimes I'll forget what I'm talking about.
Start with an iPhone. Or, like, and then just there's an attachment that increases the storage capacity.
Oh, really?
Because I know that's the
like
biggest
a little hard drive. That kind of.
That's the biggest problem that people run into, right?
Yeah.
Is they don't have the storage required.
Right.
It's not enough space.
Dang.
But
look into that.
Yeah, you should. And then you could just match up the audio with the video.
Well, I did it twice and it was hell.
Yeah.
It's just like this.
Yeah.
I wanted to do was I have it set up where we're at two ends of the table. And I had the basement yard show. Well, he flips back and forth between two people.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I'll just try that. It is the worst thing to do ever.
It's tough.
You say something, and then you cut to me, and then it's just like, this is bullshit.
Yeah. You need usually the professional podcasters. They have 3 cameras.
That's crazy. And when everyone's talking to edit that, it's like you're making a movie at that point.
Mm-hmm. I think that they do a lot of AI stuff or algorithms or just a system. Adobe does
they
it.
Pay someone to do it for them because I have a day job. I've always had that, so I can't just be like all the time.
That's true. But one of these days, man, you won't have to have a day job when
hopefully that's the idea.
Comedy works out.
That's the idea.
Yeah. Being adopted as a baby, how has that experience shaped your sense of identity or influenced your storytelling as a comedian?
Oh man, it definitely shaped my identity a lot. I was adopted when I was a baby, like you said. I was born in Haiti, and I was adopted when I was 1 year old. So being taken out of your environment and moving to Canada, definitely impacted me and affected me in many different ways, good and bad. I got a mom and a dad. I was raised by white people, and I have a sister who's also white. And it was just such an interesting dynamic growing up in that house. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of my childhood was me searching for identity, and how I would connect and relate to people was through comedy, was through humor. That was definitely how I kind of made connections with people. But I don't know, I had a good childhood. Other than that, very normal childhood. But I was raised to think for myself by my parents, question things, ask why a lot. They encouraged asking why, getting to the bottom of things. They really pushed for that, like me to ask questions, like ask why. Like if my parents vote a certain way now and I'm allowed to vote a different way, just let them know why. Like why do I feel this way about certain things? I ask questions about everything. And so yeah, maybe that shaped why I think a lot of comedians overthink. I just would ask a lot of questions about life, about myself, and then going to school and trying to relate, doing comedy and making my friends and stuff laugh was huge. But finding identity was crazy in school because you want to fit in with everybody, but you're labeled a certain thing, and I was always trying to make connections with everybody, man. Just white kids and black kids, and then people not liking you because you're too much this or too much of that. And I don't know, man. I ended up having fun in school, and I was a really chill guy and to be around and stuff. But it's just like trying to figure out who you are and who your identity is and stuff like that. It was all crazy, because my parents didn't show me very many things. They didn't show me much about like my culture and stuff like that. They didn't. They did a great job, but they didn't show me those things. So like I got into things that would be considered black culture because it's what I liked, So I would like listen to the music I like listening to and watch the movies I like watching, and it wouldn't connect with my parents or my sister. And it's like, they're their own thing, but I would like try and like avoid stuff that they would embrace, because I thought that's white, and I definitely struggled with it for a long time. But I don't know, someone's getting older, you just stop caring what people think. And so you just kind of push through and
Yo, how did that process go about in adopting you from Haiti? Like was there things that were happening around that?
Yeah. Whole process. My mom and my aunt, her sister, super close. And then my aunt couldn't have biological kids, so she wanted to adopt. And then my mom had my sister, who's older than me, and it was kind of like a trickier pregnancy because my mom has a lot of health issues. So it was kind of like a trickier pregnancy, but my sister came out healthy. Everything was good, but they recommended that you don't have another kid. So my mom was like, okay, well, I want to have a son. So how do we look into adopting? And then my mom and aunt actually adopted together. And so, like my aunt and uncle, one couple, my mom and dad, another couple, went down to Haiti. And
Wow, they traveled all the way there.
they made a TV show about it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, back in like 2003.
There's no like mailing service or
yeah, honestly, they should have just
shipped you.
Amazon wasn't around yet.
No
so
Prime.
That was No, but there was a show back in like 2003. It was called like Adoption Stories. Like it was like on TV. It aired on TV. The whole thing was documented.
Really?
It's our first TV
adoption.
credit. Yeah.
Wow, we gotta find this.
Oh yeah, it's real. I mean, I tried search. We had it on like VHSs, and then they made it into like DVDs and shit like that. But no, it was a whole series. Yeah, and then we were like, yeah, probably like the 5th episode. It ran for a few years. Yeah, Adoption Stories was like a whole thing. It was like on TV.
That's incredible. I love stories like that, man. Where it's just from the other side of the world.
Yeah,
right. And you guys, and you're connected, and now. 20 plus years later, you're here, and they raise you just like their own.
Yep.
It's just it's beautiful, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know, like blood isn't really a predictor for love.
It's not the definition of family. No,
it's like the connection that you have. Because I know so many people that are 100% related to their parents or siblings, but they hate them for just how they treated and like the little things that they still can't forget. And then I hear stories like yours where they equip you with following your own trajectory. And while things weren't smooth sailing because you're still trying to find your identity within elementary, within middle school, high school.
Yep.
You still amalgamated to someone that is very industrious,
That's a big word.
Now married.
Yeah. Industrious. I like that.
And I certainly think you embody that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great that there's people like your parents in the world, right? And hopefully you just gonna pass it on, right?
Yeah. Hopefully.
And it's amazing, man.
There was definitely a time when I wasn't like thrilled about the whole thing, like junior high school. I wasn't like, I didn't love it. That whole situation, because that's all someone wants to be growing up is normal, right? And it's like that's not looked at as totally normal. And back in like the 2000s, man, like having white parents and a black kid was just like it's before Angelina Jolie did it, so it wasn't like this hip fucking thing, right? So it was crazy. And then I'm just trying to think, like, even you go back to the 90s, like it's not my story, but that'd be harder. Like it just
dude.
Everyone's cool with everything now, but it was trickier. And I was mad for a little bit, and I moved out of my parents' house young. I gotta get out of here. So I left pretty early, like right after high school. That was always the plan.
Kudos to you, man. A lot of people in our the Gen Z, just like I hear people that are still with their parents at like 25, 26, and even up through the 30s because it's just so expensive out there.
Yeah.
Right. But it's great that you've made it work, bro.
I was just determined. I was determined to make something of myself.
Yeah.
Still am.
I completely relate to what you said about, not being proud of who you are in middle school and all that, because I migrated to Canada when I was 9.
Okay.
And
from where?
From the Philippines.
Nice.
Yeah. Filipinos represent.
Yeah. Jollibee.
Jollibee. Yeah. You know the culture.
I do.
Yeah, dude. Just like speaking a different language and looking different. Like I went into my class and I was the only Filipino kid. Zero. Everybody was white.
Yep.
And so I'm walking around and I'd bring my lunch consisted of rice and some Asian Filipino home cooked meal.
Yep.
And everybody would just have sandwiches, and I'd look at my lunch and I'm like, why am I having this lunch?
So they make you feel weird.
Yeah, and my friend, actually, he's still my friend today, and he didn't do this intentionally. He opened my lunch and he goes, "What is that? ew.
Yeah.
Dude,
you got the ew. No.
When you're in grade 3, man.
Ew is bad.
Like, that's the last time I brought rice and chicken to school. Then I transitioned to sandwiches and all the snacks and whatever. Yeah. Boring white people stuff, you know?
Wow.
And then looking back, and I'm like, it's not really that big of a deal. But dude, when you're a kid, right, all you want to be is normal. But then as you grow up, like it starts, like it intensifies in middle school where I'd be speaking Filipino with my family outside, and I'd want us to be quiet because I didn't want to be different, right? I didn't want to be recognized as Filipino because I felt like inferior. But then growing up after high school, wait, I speak a different language. Like I'm different. That's good. you know? Now you look back and you go, oh, as a kid, like I was just being so anal about everything, and when that thing made me special.
Yeah.
You know?
When I was little, I always thought when we went out to like dinner or something that like everyone was like looking at us. So I was always like self-conscious of that. Just out with my family eating. I'm just like, everyone's looking at us. Yeah. And then in junior high school, I would like not go out to eat all the time.
Yeah, dude, I'd cover my face. Like, fuck, like everybody, when we'd be at the movies and there'd be like the cool kids that would hang out and they'd be with their friends and I'd be with my family and be like, fuck, they probably think I'm a loser, you know? Yeah. Like, where the fuck did these thoughts come from, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny. Like, no one actually like directly said too many hurtful things, but it's all about like what goes on in your head and stuff like that. So. I mean, now I can like, you know, I'm chill and I can own it now, but like that was like a whole process.
Yeah, dude, it's a big mind fuck.
Being able to relax, about it. It's crazy.
When you're a kid, man, all you got is like, you haven't lived many years, right? So you've got nothing to compare it to. Yeah. And like the wisdom that you get is just from, I don't know, some celebrities from like your favorite Minecraft YouTubers. And I was watching a lot of PewDiePie at the time. And so you built up.
I was a KSI guy. I remember
really?
KSI was hilarious.
Dude, my brother's still a KSI guy. And he's still, he's like 19. Yeah. And he's grown up with KSI. Yeah, dude, KSI is funny. I love that guy's laugh.
He's great.
He's with Logan Paul now.
Oh, yeah. I remember when that all started, and that's probably where I like kind of fell off when the boxing started.
The beef. Yeah. Man. Nah, it's probably all the marketing stunt, right?
It's all marketing, bro. It's all marketing.
Yeah, they're all friends. They're just like
Pepsi,
the money.
You know, they get along fine.
Like the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, man, was the biggest cash grab.
That was insane. I actually watched it too.
Yeah, me too.
Sad.
Netflix just kept, buffering for us too. And so my mom couldn't handle it because she thought that it was my grandpa getting beat up because Tyson looked so.
Your grandpa's, he's black?
No, but he's really old. He kind of looks, he's got that bald look. Yeah. And they kind of walk similar.
Yeah. It looked bad.
Yeah. It was like beating up on the old guy.
Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah. After that, I watched a bunch of Mike Tyson highlights, just to remember him.
Oh, back in the day. Him being great. Him biting people's ears off and shit.
You got married young, hey?
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Fuck, dude, I've never, actually, I rarely, like, met maybe like 2-3 people. Yeah. And I talked to a lot of people,
Yeah, they're probably like Mormon or some shit.
Yeah, you're right. I was navigating. Dude, no, I don't want to tell this story because he'd probably recognize it. Just to put it in a summary, like my boy got his heart broken. Yeah. And then met this Mormon girl after, and now he's Mormon and does the whole Mormon thing.
And how many kids does he have?
9. He's going to have some kids, I bet. But keep in mind, this is the same guy I used to play League of Legends with. Yeah. And just say a bunch of racial slurs at me.
Hilarious.
Because he'd be mad.
Wow.
That'd be underperforming.
How many racial slurs do you have against you?
There's some like, I don't know, because all the Asian slurs are just all mixed into one. Yeah. Like.
We're cutting all this part. Keep this part.
I was like, but I'm Asian though, right?
Sure, yeah. The C word. It's yours.
I don't know. There's a lot of, but it's not really that offensive because I don't.
No.
I don't think it's offensive to me.
Right.
Maybe for other people.
Probably.
So How has navigating marriage and adulthood early on informed your comedy or life outlook?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, getting married young was kind of a trip. Like, I don't know. I don't even know why. Like, I know why I did it. It just happened so fast, and it's so funny. Like, you look at it, you look at your age, and you're like, "Wow, I got married at 21. That's crazy." You know, a lot of people look at it as crazy, but like as we've learned on this whole show, like I've always stood out. I've always been different. I've always been weird. Being a comedian is strange. It's different, you know. But I felt that way, you know, being adopted. So I've never been afraid of what's different. I sometimes I think when you know, when they're the right person, they're the right person. And I mean, she was great. We were young and in love, and we still are. But it was, it was definitely a fast trajectory. And it definitely shaped my comedy. I think I write better in a relationship and being married and dating and all these things. I'm maybe not right. Put it this way, it clicked when that kind of happened and I was starting to find my comedy voice. And I think a comedian gets better over time when they have more stuff to talk about. You know, when I'm just talking about living in my parents' house and not having any money and, you know, just teenager stuff, midgets. You know, it might have been funny, but there wasn't any substance there, you know.
I just picture you going up on stage, and first thing that comes out of your mouth is midgets.
Yes. My thing was, are there any midgets in the audience? And they'd be like, no. I'm like, okay, good. Let's talk about them. That was my opening thing.
I'd die laughing.
Yeah. See, yeah. You'd be like, this kid's crazy.
This guy.
Yeah. That was the whole thing. Yeah. But no, I think it definitely shaped a lot of my material and stuff like that. And I notice if I'm writing too much about one thing, I'll write about something else. But I mean, that's kind of just what's going on, you know. Like things are happening, you write about it. You know, you just write about it.
Yeah.
You learn about yourself in a relationship too, which helps. I think when you're solo and you're figuring it out alone, you can learn about yourself too, but it just comes at a faster rate when you're like in a relationship and then living together and then making a commitment to that person. Like I always say, O.J. Simpson said it best. Marriage is hard. He said that. And he also killed his wife. Yeah.
Yeah. But the glove didn't fit though.
It didn't, exactly.
I don't know if you know. I'm not here defending OJ.
Yeah.
I'm not defending. I did have a friend though. He did defend OJ.
Did he really?
He said wasn't that bad.
Yeah, he's not that bad. He's one of my heroes. I mean, if you look at his, I read his book because I'm such a fan of football. That's why. And sad.
What was he like?
He's great. He was like an all-time. Yeah, The Juice. Oh, the book. The book was
before the murder.
Oh, he was one of the best.
Yeah.
He was an actor too. He did so much stuff, man. The Juice.
Yeah, it's like that one saying, right? Like, oh, if you can do all this stuff,
yeah,
and like you can achieve phenomenal things, but when you like poop your pants in public or something,
been there,
like then you're like known as that guy.
Yeah,
you know, murder or something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, all my heroes are falling. First him, and then Bill Cosby. It's all downhill. I should start looking up to better people.
Can you imagine? Maybe that's what propagated it. Hey, maybe that's because you started looking up to them and caused them.
Yeah, you look up to them.
See a pattern.
I just have a poor taste. Taste in heroes.
R. Kelly.
Oh man, I'm more of a Michael Jackson guy, but.
Yeah. What is this like debate with Michael Jackson, man? Did he actually like commit those crimes? Like I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all you can't prosecute because he's dead, right? But it's all like
it's all confirmed.
I mean, jeez. It all points. Oh, it all points to him. So
fuck. That sucks.
It's horrible, but I still play his music.
Yeah, a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
Every Halloween, you know, Thriller.
Yeah. Absolutely. Beat It. That one didn't age well.
Yeah.
And anyways.
Have you ever brought personal family stories into your act or your podcast? And if so, how do you balance vulnerability with humor?
Yeah. I mean, I've always talked about my personal life on stage, and yeah, it's always a fascinating situation. Like, yeah. I mean, so being in a relationship, I remember just like having like fights and like talking about it on stage. Or, I mean, I try and like make the other person look good. And that's how I also knew many reasons. But one of the reasons I knew that she was the one for me is I like could like make jokes about that person, my wife. Her name was Chloe. If she's watching. Yeah, I was able to like make fun of her, and then vice versa. But a lot of it, I make fun of myself first. So I'm usually losing in the bit, or I mean, however you slice it. But it's like you just want to. It went really well, and she's always been cool with it. I mean, there's definitely a line that I wouldn't want to cross, but it all comes from love, And if it comes from love, you can't really. If your buddy was doing comedy and he was doing a bit about you and you're in it, and it's like it's silly, but it's not that humiliating, I'm sure.
You brush it off.
Yeah,
and it's like progressive overload too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like first off, you start off with something light, and then you push it a little bit the boundary, and then you keep pushing up until you're just exposing.
And it's not who you are. It might be like what you did. Like, and I'm not picking on like people's like insecurities and stuff. Like, there's stuff like I wouldn't want people making fun of me about, or vice versa. But it's like, if someone's short, and it's like, they always say it. It's like, well, I'll talk about that. Like, you take the things that are like obvious or whatever, but I'm not taking like a intimate conversation that we had and put it on stage. It's kind of like, this is crazy, and this is how I reacted to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my reaction to the situation. Like, I talk about going camping with my wife's family and how I didn't like it. And like, they're tent campers, and I don't camp in a tent. That's insane to me.
Okay. Yeah. So other than the tent, what was with camping? You get the sun, you get the nature.
I'm afraid of animals. I'm afraid of bears. Bears scare the shit out of me. Because I watch a lot of like Animal Planet and like documentaries, and apparently I heard bears, when they attack, they'll eat you from like the legs up.
I heard they play with you, man.
Yeah, bears, they'll eat you.
Like to see you suffer.
Yeah, so like I don't want to mess with that. Like, if a bear eats you from the asshole first, and the only thing that's protecting me from that is a tarp, essentially, I don't want that. So I had like a whole thing about how like I stayed up all night and listened to like sounds, and I was like, I hear like footsteps, and I have to like differentiate. Okay, that's people walking to their, to the bathroom, or you hear like some wind, and you're like, okay, that's just the trees. Something would happen, and then eventually, like, and this is a true story, I like left in the middle of the night. I grabbed my stuff and I like slept in the car. I slept the night in the car, and I was worse as I locked the doors, and I slept with the car keys in my pocket. Yeah, and I left my wife in the tent, so it's like midnight, 2, 3, 4 a.m. I'm in the car, and she's in the tent, and the whole thing is, if anything goes down, I could just wake up and just like back out of there. And so she's in it, but she's not, I guess, like the biggest punchline or like things like that. Or if it's like if it's an argument, it's a silly argument. It's not anything that's like too deep or too serious or would make her uncomfortable. Same with like bits about like my family, I've had that whole thing, and it's like, sometimes it's like when I'm talking about myself, she's never had to say like, maybe don't share that. I try and have good judgment about that whole thing,
Yeah. I say too, sometimes you make mistakes, right? And you go a little bit too far, right? Because I do this with my own family, where I'll make some jokes, or like, oh God, I gotta apologize now, and then you don't do it again.
Yeah.
And maybe you do it, but it's it's maybe toned down a little, watered down,
sure, Yeah.
And then you just do that, and if it still works, it works, right?
Because the biggest thing is you want them to laugh. Like I've any bit about my wife, I've told her first. And if she's not laughing in the kitchen, then it's not, why do I tell it? You know what I'm saying? Like she has to like approve and think that's okay, that's funny. Like, if I want to have her in stitches, well, yeah, and making fun of her, like, you do that. And she's like, I know, that's, so if she can laugh about like a small thing, then that's great. Like she's like really like picky, and she can be like anal about like cleanliness and like washing hands. But that's not an attack of her character or her appearance or things like that, right? When you start like picking apart like a person's character, that hurts. I never like that. Like I can take joking and roasting and all these different things, but when people are like saying things about me, like that, like part of your identity, then it's like, okay, well then reassess. And I try and do that too. Like I put out that video about Zac Efron, but it's like, it's just a physical thing. It's not who he is. And I'm sure he knows and has a good sense of humor. And if he hates it, he hates it. But for the most part, it's all in good fun and it's in good spirits. And I think anything's in good taste if it's funny. There's so many jokes that are in bad taste. Like some people can do like a racial joke to me, and it's like, I'll laugh it off, or I'll say that was kind of weird because it wasn't funny enough. It just didn't bring the punch. So you're like, hey man, if it's funny, it's funny.
I heard this thing of trauma plus time equals comedy.
Good math.
So if you give the mishaps and the traumatic events some time, you talk about them, they're funny as fuck, like
half the time I remember when I got engaged, I would talk about that's when I started talking about my dating material. And then when I got married, how stressful the engagement was. And now that I've been married coming on 2 years, it's like, now you can talk about a thing that happened so long ago. I just recently started talking about that camping trip that I had with my wife's family. And it happened like last year, because I've told it to friends or family or whoever, and I'm telling it funny, but I'm getting worked up, and I'm like, they made me sleep in a tent. When I tell it, now it becomes funny, but it didn't happen yesterday. In the moment, I wasn't actually laughing. It was like very strange, and yeah. Or I have a bit about how like my car is breaking down or something, and like when you have vehicle troubles and you're on the side of the road, it's not actually that funny, but it's like later it becomes like when you tell people. And I think that's kind of what always made me want to be a comedian or whatever. I would tell people, these are my struggles, and it was like they're kind of laughing, or I'm making fun of them in good taste. It's like, okay, well then you just take that thing and telling people, pointing out, because I'm like, I try and be observant, pointing out what you do, it's funny, but it's not who you are. I don't want to attack who you are. Like if I started like making fun of you, I wouldn't like go into who you are, because it's like, what are you doing? Why are you being mean? That's the level of like bullying that you try and walk the line. So you try and be like cool first, friends with them first, make sure you guys are chill. And then if my wife did stand up, she could probably roast the shit out of me. I'm sure she would tear me apart, and I'd be okay with it. I have to be okay with it.
What advice would you give to someone that's wanting to get into comedy? They don't know where to start.
I say just do it. There's a lot of like classes you can take, like stand-up classes and stuff like that. And even a comedian who like runs stand-up classes, they're like, we're just getting them ready for like the big performance. But at the end of the day, you just kind of got to do the open mic and get up there and struggle. Like you have to struggle and not expect it to be great right away. And just keep pushing forward, have thick skin. Be original and be yourself, and just try to, like, I started comedy when I was 17. So my whole understanding of adulthood has been through the eyes of a comedian. A lot of people start in like their mid to late 20s, or however, you can start whenever you want. It's never too late to start either. That's another tip of advice. But just try and learn who you are while you're doing it. That's another thing that I encourage, man. Just doing that. But yeah, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't let fear hold you back. Like, what if no one laughs? Then no one's laughing, and you're not gonna die.
Yeah, true.
Nothing happens. Like nothing happens when no one laughs. You're totally fine. And then you start laughing and have fun with it, because once you're having fun up there, the audience picks up on that. That's another thing too. Like even if you're making fun of a person and like no one's having fun, you have to read the room, be observant, pay attention, get out of your head. It's just like, have fun. I push fun. If it's not fun, don't do it. You know, I know comedians who are miserable, and I'm just like, why do you do this? You could just do something else. You know, it's just, yeah, you have to love it. You have to work hard at it. And it's kind of like a sport. Just, you get better with time.
Just reps, baby.
Just reps, man. Just reps.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for coming on the Long Term Podcast today.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. This is really, really fun. And
I love it.
I hope to come out to one of your shows one of these days.
Absolutely.
I can see you going far in this, man. You've really put in a lot of work, and I appreciate everything that you do and you are. It's amazing.
Oh, thanks, man. And I think your show is great. I love the furniture. I love the setup.
Thank you.
I love the mics. You know what? You didn't put on any pants for me. You just had shorts the whole time.
Man. This is for you. You knew the tactic.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know you're just showing off your legs at this point.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. It's
you knew it. You saw through it.
You have no hair on your legs. I
noticed
I'm
that
hairless
too. As fuck, man.
You're like a dolphin.
I am, man.
That's
cool. It's on my forearms too.
Yeah?
It's me. Yeah, it's in the Asian genetics, I guess.
Kind of, yeah. Very noticeable.
Yeah, dude. I don't shave.
Yeah, it looks like you waxed them. Like, it's actually crazy.
No. A lot of people think that.
You don't?
I don't wax them, no.
Wow. That's awesome. Now, man. But this is a great show, great setup. I think you're killing it. And yeah, I'll tell people about this, man.
Yeah, and as always, to everyone listening and watching, there is a place for you in this chaotic world. Never lose hope, strengthen your faith, and keep it long term. Sam, Bayne, everyone. Peace.
Thanks. See ya.
Sick. That was good, man. Thank you.
It's very cool.